Hello, my name is Katelyn and I am the wine director of Purple Cafe in Woodinville, and we have put together a couple little tasting duos, and the theme of these duos were really kind of regionally based, kind of a provincial palate tasting experience. Now more than ever, when we're all stuck at home, it's really important that we get to kind of experience other cultures and be able to get that feeling that we're traveling. And for me personally, I think wine is such a great sense of that. I love the culture of wine. It's kind of what pushed me into my career here. So in this one's theme is going to be Argentina, our friends down south. I personally love Argentina. Been lucky enough to be able to get to go a couple times, one specifically for a wine trip. So this is definitely, when I pop these bottles, it really brings me back there. So selfishly, I had to kind of include Argentina. So we're going to talk about two different wines here. We have the classic Malbec, which we all know and love from Argentina, but I went with something a little bit less familiar, Cabernet Franc from Argentina. So this is the Colonia Las Libras, which translates to the colony of hares. You can, I don't know if you can see, but there's a bunny across the label there. So this is 100% Cabernet Franc from Argentina, and Cabernet Franc is something that has been planted in the region for a long time, but more recently more people are beginning to make wines from Cabernet Franc. I know that we're all familiar with Malbec and they do it amazingly well, but I thought this was a fun opportunity to showcase something different. This also is 100% organic grapes. So super biodynamic and sustainable farming. And this is 100% Cab Franc. Again, I love it when they get to showcase one varietal, even though they're legally allowed to blend in numerous different varietals. So this, the thing that I love about Argentinian winemaking is that they are really truly landlocked continental climate, and they have extremely high elevation, and that really does kind of play into some classic minerality that comes through in these wines. They have a really intense difference from their daytime to nighttime temperature, which is called the diurnal shift. So it gets really extreme temperature swings, and that makes the grapes kind of work really hard all day, and then they get to kind of rest at night. And they have the proximity to the sun, and a lot of these vineyards that when I actually got to go visit some of these, I was in awe, because in the middle of summer they were in a blanket of snow because they're such high elevation. So it really kind of adds a freshness and liveliness to these wines. And this Cabernet Franc is 100% unoaked. They really wanted to kind of highlight the freshness of this varietal. And this is a varietal that we usually kind of see as a blending partner to Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and the classic Bordeaux regions. But this is kind of expressing this grape on its own and from Argentina. So this grape is really known for its really intense aromatics, and this one is no different. You get tons of notes I really got a lot of dried flowers on this, and classically this grape has a little bit more herbaceousness, but you get this pepper jelly and grilled peppers on the nose of this, and then it's super juicy on the palate. It's very easy drinking. It's definitely a crowd pleasing style of wine, and something that's a very easy introduction to anyone that might be a little timid of Cabernet Franc and are unsure of what those flavors are like. But this is, again, completely unoaked, and because of that, it really lends to this freshness. So, and one thing that I kind of find in Argentinian wines is this really fresh acidity, and that comes from that high altitude. And so when you're talking about food and wine pairing, acid loves acid. So think of any kind of acidic foods, anything like tomato-based. The Argentinians love their meats, so any grilled meats, any grilled vegetables. This is great with a portobello mushroom burger if you're vegetarian, if you don't want to have any of that grilled meats. But this wine is super food friendly, really easy drinking, and could be at the center of any dinner table. I'm just gonna revisit just for fun. Confirmed. It's good. All right. So the classic familiar friend of Malbec. So Malbec actually originated in France, but it really has found its home in Argentina. So a lot of people kind of think Argentina when they think Malbec. And there are a lot of amazing Malbecs coming out of Argentina. The one that I picked today is a really great expression because not only does it taste classically like Malbec from Argentina, but this is also a single vineyard Malbec. So this comes from the Sober Mesa vineyard, and this comes from the Hand of God winery. And this is their estate fruit. They make 2 different lines of estate vineyard blocks, and so this is one single slice of earth with one single varietal. So always fun when you really get to experience that in wine. And then when I talk about high elevation, this vineyard site sits at approximately 3,600 feet above sea level. That is very high elevation for fruit. I mean, for us Seattleites, that's approximately 6 Space Needles in the sky. So definitely high altitude, which you're gonna get that really kind of nice line of acidity through these wines because of that. But this is definitely classic Malbec. It's going to be inky and dark purple in your glass. You're gonna get tons of notes of stewed plums. I get that kind of rich cassis and that sweet tobacco element. Smells so good. I can just smell the aromatics coming out of the glass. But this is definitely going to be a classic expression. Also, it has some classic kind of minerality, and I know that that's like a hard word to kind of navigate through when it comes to tasting wine, but you get kind of these earth slatey components of this, and it's just this fresh liveliness that comes through in this wine. And I really do credit that with the high elevation and the actual terroir in Argentina. And for food pairing options for this, Malbecs again, really great with anything that I kind of mentioned on the Cabernet Franc, any grilled meats, chimichurri sauce, anything kind of with that herbaceousness is going to be really, really well with this. On our menu, it pairs really well with the bacon wrapped meatloaf. We also have a roast beef dip sandwich with au jus, which is really, really great with this wine. So, as the Argentinians say, salud.